What is going on, you guys? My name is Nick, and welcome back to the channel, and it is another Wednesday, so that means we got our new Marvel and our new Star Wars show, Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan, and today we're starting with Obi-Wan. So this was the 6th and final episode of Obi-Wan. I do believe it is a mini-series, so this is the last episode that we're getting of Obi-Wan in its entirety, and I've got to say, it was a pretty freaking good episode. As someone that has kind of been pulled away from Star Wars the past few years, just because of how, in my opinion, the quality of it has just gone down exponentially, especially with the Rise of Skywalker. That was just so disappointing, but this finale made me smile. It made me have emotion for the Star Wars franchise again, and that's pretty exciting. I just want to start by saying that the character moments in this episode are the best that we've seen the entire season so far. There are moments, just little one-on-one moments between characters. You know, Obi-Wan and Leia, Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, Reva, whoever it may be. There's these very important scenes with these characters that are just, they always hit. They never miss at all in this episode. And that's so nice to see, because I just felt like that was one of the big things that was missing throughout the entire series leading up to this point. Okay, so we gotta talk about Reva. At first, I didn't like the way her story was going within this particular episode, because up until this point, we didn't really know much about her until last episode, and that was the penultimate episode for her character, really. So what she does after last week, it is, like, pretty important, right? And what she starts to do at the beginning of this episode, I'm not really too keen on, right? But as it went on, I would be lying if I said I wasn't in tears by the time her story finished. I mean, I'm just so happy that her character ended where it did, because if it didn't, it just would have felt like her character was, I don't know, just a pointless block in Obi-Wan's road, right? That's just there for the sake of being a bad guy. But thankfully, we got some really good characterization at the end of this episode. It's a little annoying it took to the last episode to get this characterization for this character. And we have to talk about the rematch. I don't consider this a spoiler at all, because we all know what's going to happen. Like, the only fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan is not going to be in the 3rd episode of the show. They're, of course, going to have another rematch at the end of the finale episode. But to my surprise, there was a lot of fighting. There's probably 10 minutes worth of Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan action, and it is pretty fucking cool, if you ask me. Though I will say, at least during the first part of the fight, the second part not so much, because that was a lot more focused on the character's emotions in the fight, because the second fight is just, it's much more important, giving the characterization that happens with Obi-Wan right before it happens. But the direction of the first encounter between the two in this episode, it felt a little off. I really appreciated whenever they did really close-up shots between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, and especially when they would check the camera when it was up close, because that just kind of captures the grittiness of the fight and just kind of the chaotic energy that the two have when they fight each other. But for some reason, like, every 2 or 3 cuts, we would zoom out to, like, a bird's eye view, like an aerial shot of the fight, and the fight would be positioned so oddly in the frame, right? So we'd be pulled out, and the fight would be over here in the corner, and the camera would be shaking a little bit. I don't entirely know why. I mean, I'm assuming it's because Deborah Chow wanted to establish the setting that we're on, because later on they do start using the setting within their fight. But I just don't understand why you would have to do that multiple times in a fight, because to me, when that was happening, when you go from these really cool, interesting, long one-take shots of Obi-Wan and Vader throwing down, and then you cut to a wide angle with the fight in the top left corner of the screen or whatever, it's very jarring, and it pulls me out of the fight. Thankfully, though, in the rematch, that didn't happen. In Vader and Obi-Wan's final scene together, I was so worried about how this would go, because, I mean, obviously within A New Hope, there's been a lot of time since they've last seen each other, and the way this final scene ends, just pretty much bookends how their fight in A New Hope happens and the emotions behind that. And the way it happens, I'm not going to say anything about it, but it is amazing. There is a scene, this might be a light spoiler, but there's a scene where Darth Vader's mask is like half kind of slashed off, and he looks like Freddy Krueger, like a fucking horror villain. It is amazing. Like, that shot could be in a museum. Another museum shot is when they use the Imperial March for the first time in the entire show. Set that shit as my wallpaper and make that my goddamn banner everywhere, because that shot is so cool. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to ruin it for you. Oh, and that surprise cameo at the end was pretty cool. Not going to say what it is, though. Just not. Overall, I felt this episode was so good, and out of all of these, you know, this 6-episode season, I felt like it was a 4 out of 6 season, right? So we had 4 really good episodes and then 2 shitter episodes. And I just can't help but think, what if this was edited down to a film, or what if it was intended to be a film in the first place, and then they kind of had to sprinkle in stuff with the Inquisitors and stuff like that to kind of draw it out a little more. It's just I don't understand it. I would be interested to see if anyone could like edit down, take the entire 6 episode series and edit it down to a feature length film. Hell, I might even do that. That just sounds like fun. Just to see how it would play out. Maybe it would, I don't know, pacing wise, it would just be a whole lot more smoother. And I don't see how you don't put this in the theater. You know, Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, their big confrontation. How do you not, like, that would sell so many tickets alone. And then, I mean, the experience alone would be worth the price of admission, whether it's $15 or $40 a ticket. It doesn't matter. People want to see Darth Vader and Obi-Wan on screen together, especially with that theatrical experience. But I digress. I'm happy with what we got. You guys, overall, I had a pretty good time with Obi-Wan. This is the first Star Wars show that I've actually watched beginning to end. I used to be into the Clone Wars a lot, but I never finished it. It just kind of fell off in the later seasons. But this is pretty exciting. I can happily say that I'm excited for the next Star Wars project. If it's going to continue on the quality that Obi-Wan was, hopefully it can improve so we don't get a 4 out of 6, we get a 6 out of 6 season. But anyway, you guys, have you guys seen the most recent episode of Obi-Wan or the show as a whole? Please feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and let's start a dialogue because I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say about this episode and this series. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the Ms. Marvel review. Peace.